Kia ora koutou, Markie here. I'm going to talk a little bit loudly because of the sound of the sea, so you can hear me. I hope I'm not bellowing too much in your delicate little ear hole. So, I've got the sun shining right in my eyes, which I shouldn't complain, should I? It's a lovely afternoon. It's autumn here, so very lucky. So I want to have a bit of a rant, really. I always end up kind of coming here to do my ranty videos, and then all the kind of the fire in my belly goes out because it's so calming here. It's hard to be angry when you're in a place like this, isn't it? So I ought to kind of have more of a system where I do my angry videos in an unsalubrious place and I do my calm videos when I come down here. So I want to talk about a trend which I think has been going on for quite some time. I couldn't tell you how long, probably decades, but I've noticed it more and more and more. So as many of you will know, I am a psychotherapist. And if you want to know what the difference is between, if you want to know what a psychotherapist is and stuff about psychotherapy, I've got a whole playlist on it. And I can't remember what I've covered and what I haven't. I know I've also done on LinkedIn, I've done, and I think I put it on, no, I did put it on YouTube, but in a community post, so it's like a written post. I put stuff in there about the difference between all these different professions. So I've talked about the difference between counsellors, psychotherapists, psychologists and psychiatrists and a few others. So I won't go too much into that here, but what I want to say is more and more I'm seeing people are seeking out psychologists for some reason and ignoring psychotherapists, and a lot of job descriptions are asking for, oh, there's a seal. Sorry, I got completely distracted, but it's worth it. There's a seal. Have I got him lolloping about on the rock? Now, I saw one, I've captured a seal here before. I can't see now, he's either hidden or he's either gone behind a rock or he's, there he is. There he is, centre of the screen. You can just see him moving around. I captured one here once before. They tend to live quite often on the islands. I think they come here to have a bit of a sunbathe. So isn't that nice? We captured a seal. So what I'll keep a weather eye on him. If he does anything interesting, I'll break with what I'm talking about, and I'll hey, is it more than one? Yeah, he's doing something interesting now. Can I zoom in on him anymore? No, I'm on maximum zoom. So now how am I supposed to rant and rave when I'm not only in this beautiful place, but I'm seeing, you know, amazing creatures like seals? It's not easy, you know. I hope you feel for me. So what he is well, 99% sure that he's a fur seal, because that's the sort of seals that we have here, and they're called fur seals because they were hunted for their fur. It's not a very nice way to be named, is it, by the commodity for which you are killed? But there we go. They're kind of furry. Yeah, bless him. I don't know if there are more of them. So I saw one here before. He was even closer to where I am now, and to where people were walking past and stuff. But I haven't seen one close up like this for a long time. Sorry, I'm moving the camera away from him because basically it's hard to hold the camera up. I don't have a stand or anything. So there we go, completely hijacked by a seal. Yeah, there he is, sticking his head up again. Completely upstaged. Shall I even bother continuing with my rant? I will. Kills two birds with one stone. Because it's nice as well, for people that aren't interested in this particular topic, you can watch the little seal, which is cool. So, where was I? Yeah, job applications. People were saying, oh, we want a social worker or a psychologist. What's the other one they asked for? Occupational therapist. But they're almost everything but psychotherapist. They don't say counsellor either. Oh, he's coming a bit closer. I say he. I don't know if it's a he. Hey, you're a beauty. He's really performing for the camera now. But they don't say psychotherapist. It's interesting because psychotherapy, these things kind of change. There was a time when everybody, if they wanted therapy, they go to a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist, just briefly, so a psychiatrist is a medical doctor that specialises in mental health, so they can prescribe stuff. A psychologist is somebody that's got a degree in psychology and then a doctorate in psychology. And there's lots of different kinds of psychologists. Not all of them are practitioners. So some of them are business psychologists. That's one kind. You can get so clinical psychologists. If you're going to see a psychologist, the one that you'll see is more likely to be a clinical psychologist, unless you've been naughty, and then you might be seeing a forensic psychologist. And there are various different kinds of psychologists. So a psychotherapist is somebody that's trained in a specific form of psychotherapy, or a combination of different ones. I'm what they call integrative, which means I've studied, all the main schools of therapy. Not all the schools of therapy, because there's hundreds and hundreds, but the main ones. I've lost him again now. We'll pan out again. I think he's hidden, so we'll pan out. And we'll see if he pops up again a bit later. He's probably gone shy with us looking at him. But psychotherapists so psychotherapists were, I don't know what came first really. Psychiatrists used to be called alienists, and they've been around a fair while. But at one point, psychotherapists were the everything really. If you wanted to help with a mental health problem, you would go and see a psychotherapist. That was the thing. Then counsellors came about. He's moving over to the left. I can just see him. Then counsellors came about. Now I learned something very interesting actually. The name counsellor, it came about when Carl Rogers developed what they call person-centered therapy, and at the time you had to be a doctor before you could call yourself a psychotherapist, because all psychotherapy came out of medicine. So like Freud was a neurologist, for example, or Jung was a psychiatrist. So most of them were psychiatrists, and a few psychologists that kind of that developed the main schools of psychotherapy. So at one point it was just psychotherapists, and amongst whom a good chunk, the majority, would have been psychoanalysts. So if somebody wanted help, they would have said, I need to get an analyst, or they would have said, I need to get a therapist. And then a bit further down the line, people, I need to see a psychiatrist. And then, then counsellor. And now they say, and now everyone seems to want to see a psychologist for some reason. Now I don't want to diss psychologists. I've got a lot of friends that are psychologists. It's a fine discipline. One of the differences in psychology is that, and again, it's speaking very broadly here, because there are differences. There are lots of different types of psychologists and lots of different types of psychotherapists. But often one of the defining things about psychotherapy is that psychotherapists do an enormous amount of work on themselves, addressing their issues, understanding themselves, learning more about themselves, all those kinds of things. Whereas psychologists, it's much more academic. They're learning theory. Psychologists can diagnose. In some cases they can prescribe. Psychotherapists, it all gets a bit mixed up as well. Different countries, different rules and things. There's some kids there going to see the seal. I hope they don't get too close, because on land the seals can be quite aggressive. So I hope those parents are watching those kids. I don't want to be filming kids while I'm so we'll give you something else to look at. So that over there to the left of that island, that's normally where you see the seals. You can't get that close to them unless the tide's very low, but obviously they get about. So basically everyone's kind of just assumes that they need to see a psychologist, and it's like the whole discipline of psychotherapy has been ignored, which is annoying when you're a psychotherapist, because we've got an awful lot to offer, and not just because I'm biased. If I was going to find somebody to see, which we all do, as that's the other thing is, a psychotherapist is likely to have had years of therapy, and that's often a condition of their training and their qualification. So and therapists do as well. There's another one over to the right. There's two seals. Let me give you a look without looking at the children. So what was I trying to say? So generally speaking, it applies to counsellors as well to some extent, often not to the same extent. The counsellor training is often shorter. But psychotherapists, one of the things that's very common is that psychotherapists have done years of therapy, very intense therapy. They've analysed themselves inside out. And in that process, they've learned an awful lot, which they can then use to help other people. And they've done it through, they're not asking their clients to go through any kind of process that they haven't gone through themselves, because often therapy requires a lot of courage. That's a big element in things. Whereas I think psychologists can be guilty of, metaphorically, sitting there with a clipboard, looking, I won't say looking down on their clients, because that's not fair, but not necessarily coming from the same position of humility. I would say it's a very broad, generalized statement. I'm going to upset people with this, but I would say there's more likelihood that a psychologist will be looking at their clients more from what's the matter with this person, whereas a psychotherapist is more likely to be somebody that's been on their own journey of self-discovery and sees their client as a fellow traveller. Is that a terrible thing to say? I'm sure psychologists will disagree with me on that. I'm trying to avoid these people again. So I think there are 2 seals. I've completely lost the plot in terms of my my narration of this video, but it's worth it. It's always nice to see seals. I'm pretty sure there's 2, unless that one hightailed it back in the direction it came from. So there we go. So from me and the seal or seals, I will say goodbye. Have a great day, whatever it is you're doing. Remember to include and make space for compassion and beauty every single day of your life. Even if it's just a tiny bit, make way for a little bit of compassion. Make room, create, find, observe, read about, watch something that's to do with compassion and something that's to do with beauty every single day of your life, because it's like food. Man cannot live on bread alone. So catch you in the next one. Markie.